The Clone Wars characters get a new look, Starkiller gets a new mission, and it's beginning to look a lot like a consumer paradise in the States. It's Tuesday, November 23rd, and you'll hear about those stories and more this week in Star Wars. This Week in Star Wars is your source for new and noteworthy developments from the galaxy far, far away. I'm your host, Matt Fox. And now this week's lead stories. As the countdown to Black Friday, the traditional kickoff of the Christmas season in the United States, can now be measured in hours, Star Wars fans are naturally beginning to wonder what sort of sales will be available for those hardy enough to face the Thanksgiving weekend shopping crowds. Well, in the spirit of our never-tedious rundown of the Celebration 5 exclusives, we will bring you a rundown of what is going to be available this weekend on sale at retailers across the country, well before those ads are in your sweaty little hands. Before we get to that, though, we're going to knock off the non-shopping related news so that those who are not collectors and not interested in what's on sale this week can go ahead and tune out. First off, StarWars.com this week announced what was leaked to the internet several weeks ago, that the primary characters of the Star Wars The Clone Wars animated series will be getting new designs in the upcoming episodes. While we have already seen some Phase 2 Revenge of the Sith-style clone troopers on the show, we will now be seeing a more Revenge of the Sith-looking Obi-Wan and Anakin, as well as a more mature-looking Ahsoka, no longer bearing the midriff that shocked and appalled so many Star Wars fans. These new character models, and probably new action figures, will be showing up later in Season 3, and the character models are available to look at on the official site. LucasArts announced this week on the website IGN that downloadable content will soon be available for Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2. The new Infinity storyline will take the Starkiller character to Endor, where he will no doubt be able to kill as many Ewoks as fanboys wish.
Like a freaking country bear jamboree around here.
No word yet on when the teddy bear slaughter will begin. In other video game news this week, the augmented reality game mentioned in an earlier episode of This Week in Star Wars is now available for download in the iTunes Store for owners of iPhones and iPod Touches with cameras. As you no doubt recall, this game superimposes Star Wars scenes such as the Millennium Falcon and TIE Fighters over whatever real-world image the camera is at that point pointed at. The title of the game is Star Wars Arcade Falcon Gunner, and will set would-be purchasers back $4.99. The trailer for It's a Trap, the third episode of the Family Guy Star Wars parodies, is now online. It looks to be about as funny as the first two, and will be available on home video on December 21st in both DVD and Blu-ray formats. One can expect it to air on television sometime later. And now, this week's collecting news.
Me? I'm a collecting fool.
Hasbro's mail-away rocket-firing Boba Fett action figure, which was arriving all too often damaged in its initial shipment, is shipping again, this time in an extra secure, double-packed box. EFX Collectibles has made available for pre-order a Sandtrooper replica helmet, limited to 1,000 pieces. It is expected to ship in January of 2011, and is available to pre-order on StarWarsShop.com, as well as the EFX website. Retail price for the helmet is $169. Bookseller Barnes & Noble is making a big push on Star Wars items this holiday season. In addition to the books you might expect to find at Barnes & Noble, most stores are also stocking magnetic tens with quotes from the original trilogy, as well as slightly larger and not at all magnetic original trilogy movie poster reproductions. Hasbro's Wave 3 of the Vintage collection of action figures, which features characters from Return of the Jedi, is showing up at Targets and Walmarts across the country. The wave includes 7 new figures on vintage reproduction cards: Gamorrean Guard, Admiral Akbar, Luke Jedi, Klaatu, now renamed Wolf, R2-D2 with bar accoutrement, a indoor Rebel Commando, and Wicket, no longer Wicket W. Warwick. Both Walmart and Target are currently running special promotions on vintage figures, selling them for $6 and $6.99 respectively, so collectors may be advised to strike while the iron is hot and before all the grandmothers hit the toy aisles next week. And while you're out looking for that excellent new wave of figures, swing by your local comic book shop after Wednesday to pick up Blood Ties issue number 4 from Dark Horse. Not surprisingly, the holiday season is the time of year when retailers across the country do the majority of their business, and nearly half of that business is done on this Friday. Eager to get as much of that sweet holiday cash as retailers can, they understand that customers are going to spend most of the money that they spend on the day on which they spend most of the money at the first store to which they go. Thus, we are left with a world of doorbusters, 4 a.m. openings, and more stores which are actually open on Thanksgiving. In recent years, this has meant in-store exclusives, 50% off large vehicles such as ATTEs and Millennium Falcons, and dirt-cheap action figures in the wake of Episode 1. 2010, however, does not appear to be a banner year for Star Wars sales at the major retailers across the country. Minnesota-based retailer Target does not promote any Star Wars toys in this year's ad, but is offering Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2 for both the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 for $49, $10 off the regular retail price, and they're throwing in a $10 gift card to boot. Next Sunday, however, November 28th, they will be, allegedly, making available a 9-figure gift pack. In the spirit of the retro packaging popular this fall, this pack is an homage to the late 70s and early 80s 3-figure value packs. This set is expected to retail for just under $50. Toys R Us is the place to be after Thanksgiving if you're looking for deals on role-playing toys. The Stormtrooper Blaster and Captain Rex helmet are both being made available for 50% off, while the children's lightsabers are also on sale. The nation's largest retailer, Walmart, doesn't even make mention of Star Wars in their post-Thanksgiving ad, aside from a $10 sale on the original Star Wars The Force Unleashed video game for the Xbox 360. Their final exclusive of the year is the TIE Bomber vehicle, which has been spotted at various Walmarts across the country over the past week. Best Buy has one of the more interesting sales available this holiday weekend. The Force Unleashed Ultimate Sith Edition, which had become somewhat hard to find after its initial release and was commanding premium prices on the internet, will be made available by the electronics mega retailer for only $20. The ad is quite specific, however, that only the PS3 version is available. That leaves us with retailer of last resort, Kmart. Several years ago, the Perennial also ran in the retailing wars, looking for a new way to get a leg up on the competition, became the first major retailer to be open on Thanksgiving Day itself. As a result, there are 2 distinct ads for Kmart, one for Thanksgiving Day and one for the subsequent weekend. On Thanksgiving Day, they will be offering the Boba Fett helmet, as well as the General Grievous lightsaber, for $19.99 each. During the weekend, they will be offering the remote control Hailfire droid with exclusive clone figure for $39.99. If you'd prefer to stay home this weekend and watch Michigan's miracle victory over Ohio State, StarWarsShop.com will be offering 25% off all in-stock items. In addition, each order will receive a Princess Leia peekaboo pin, in which her trademark white robe from A New Hope slowly falls off to reveal the more salacious Return of the Jedi metal bikini. Now, bear in mind, all this information may change prior to Black Friday, and your local ads may vary, so don't hesitate to check your Thursday papers just to verify all this information. With a fair amount of certainty, I can predict that one of the lead stories on our next episode is going to be that Harry Potter has overtaken Star Wars as the most profitable movie franchise in history. Now, in a couple ways, this means nothing. These numbers do not take into account inflation, and nor do they take into account the fact that when a series is over, there will be 8 Harry Potter pictures compared to 7 Star Wars pictures. Some would argue that what really counts is number of tickets sold, in which case I have to imagine the James Bond franchise is number 1 and always will be. And anyway, does it all matter? Because if the Star Wars films are re-released in 3D, as Lucas says he intends to do, then it's almost certain that the Star Wars franchise will regain the title in a few years. So again, what does it all matter? A system in which the 3 Jackass films now outgross the 3 Godfather films can certainly not be any measure of quality, but rather simply a system of bragging right. Nonetheless, prepare yourself for another round of Star Wars' dead newspaper articles that we always see when one of these milestones is surpassed. And that was This Week in Star Wars. Join us again next week for more news, notes, and developments from the galaxy far, far away. Visit www.thisweekinstarwars.com or www.twisw.com for links to old episodes, news about the show, as well as links to some of the stories we discussed in today's program. You can follow us on our breaking news Twitter feed, TWISWcast, and we welcome comments on our Facebook page. We also welcome news suggestions, questions, and comments via email at host@thisweekinstarwars.com. Help us grow the community. If you enjoyed This Week in Star Wars, please go to iTunes and leave a positive review of the podcast. You've been listening to This Week in Star Wars. We troll the web so you don't have to.
This Week in Star Wars is not affiliated with Lucasfilm, its subsidiaries, or any other entity mentioned in this podcast. Star Wars, its characters, and creations are the property of Lucasfilm. All other trademarks are property of their respective trademark owners. This Week in Star Wars is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. This podcast is copyright 2010 This Week in Star Wars. Invaluable technical assistance provided by WebStorm Interactive. News, comments, and questions can be directed to host@thisweekinstarwars.com. More information, links to stories presented, past episodes, and additional contact information are available at www.thisweekinstarwars.com.
It's like a freaking country bear jamboree around here.